We are going to start a new topic today, um, that is unsymmetrical bending. So, lecture one. In this first lecture, we will be discussing what are the stresses in the bending of a beam, a symmetrical beam and an unsymmetrical beam, and what are the principal axes and deflection of beam because of the unsymmetrical bending, and how to calculate, how to locate the shear center for a channel and unequal. So we have studied the beams with respect to the neutral axis. Uh, in the symmetrical type of the beams, we make use of the bending equation, that is sigma b upon y is equal to m upon I is equal to E upon. So this we have uh, derived for the symmetrical bending case. So we calculate the flexural stress sigma b, and it varies directly. You see sigma b is equal to m upon I into 1. So it varies directly with this is the distance from the neutral axis. So such type of beams are desirable for those materials which are equally strong in tension and compression. So materials which are weak in tension and strong in compression, such as cast iron, it is desirable to use a beam that are unsymmetrical with respect to the neutral axis. So with such type of section, the stronger fibers can be located at a greater distance from the neutral axis than the weaker. So that means we can design the beam according to that. In such type of material, the uh, neutral axis is selected in such a way that the ratio of the distance from it to the fiber in tension and compression is exactly same as the ratio available in tension and compression. So this is a case of a beam which is subjected to bending moment and dash. So it's a case of the pure bending. So bending, you see, uh, it takes place about the plane which is perpendicular to the neutral axis. If you see, the neutral axis of the beam will be here. So this plane of loading is perpendicular to the neutral axis. Bending moments acts along the axis of the member, and we assume the assumption that normal planes remains normal even after bending. So that means these planes does not twist. Second is there is no internal axial force, and the stress varies linearly over the cross section. So if you see the variation of the bending stress, so if it is a, it is a neutral axis, so it varies linearly. Linearly means the variation is the straight line variation. It is not curve. And zero stress exists at neutral axis. The stress is zero. So these are the things which we have learned until now in the case of the pure bending. So you see here, sigma B or FB is the bending stress. So from the bending formula, it is my upon I. So the neutral axis is like this, and the bending moment is like this. So if you see here, this maximum on the upper fiber there will be compression, and on the lower fiber there will be tension. So at the neutral axis, this stress is zero, and this is the distance where we want to calculate the stress. So this is a strain distribution, and this is a stress distribution. So sigma is the stress we have located here, and sigma max is the stress at the extreme point. So it is sigma upon sigma x is y upon c. And similarly, the strain upon the strain max is in the same ratio. So symmetrical bending now we can define. In the case of the symmetrical bending, it is essential that the plane containing one of the principal axes of the image. So this is important. This plane, because if this is a cross section here, this is a cross section. So one of the plane is this. So it is the same plane it coincides. The neutral axis will coincide with the other principal axis of inertia. So the bending stress will be given by in the z direction if you see. So mx upon ix into y and my upon z. So you see we consider two sections here which are symmetrical sections. So this is a T section. It is symmetrical about one axis, and this is a channel section of C section. T section. So this is the axis of symmetry because the area on this side is equal to the area on this side. And this is a neutral axis. And you see, this is a moment which is active. So here, there is only one axis of symmetry. The other axis of symmetry is not there. Here also, there is only one axis of symmetry. The area on the above side is not same as the area below. So bending stress along the neutral axis is 0. Before we proceed further, let's brush up our fundamentals. So moment of inertia about x-axis. So if this is an area A and we choose a small elemental area dA here. So about x-axis, the moment of inertia can be given as the integral over the area A y square into d. So and if we take about yy, then it is integral about a into x square d. So that means if we are taking from x-axis, the moment of inertia about x-axis, so it will be on the other side. Okay, if the distance is from the x-axis. So this distance square into dA, and if we are taking about the yy, so from y the distance is x. So it is x square. So you must remember this. So these two integrals are known as the moment of inertia about x and moment of inertia about y. Uh, then next is the moment of inertia of an area. Okay. So if we take about xy, this is also known as the product moment of inertia. Product moment of product moment of. So if we take about z, then it is about a, r is this. So z axis will be perpendicular to this. So above integral, this is known as the polar moment of inertia of an area. So it is a moment of an area about an axis perpendicular to x and y axis. The polar moment of inertia of an area is the sum of the moment of inertia about x-axis and y-axis. So these are the moment of inertia for some common area. If you see I-x-x, so it is dh cube upon 12. I by y will be hb upon cube upon 12. So this will be 0 and this will be of course the algebraic sum. Similarly for the right angle triangle, bh cube upon 36, hb cube upon 36. We add, so this will be full amount of inertia, and this will be the product moment of inertia. Similarly for the circle and the semicircle, you know, so you can because it passes through O, so it is 0. Semicircle, it is Ixy is 0, and this is the algebraic sum of Ixy. Similarly, you know the parallel axis theorem. So, if we want to have a moment of inertia about x dash, about this, so we will take the moment of inertia about Ix into the area, this area A, into the distance between square of the distance between these two axes. Here we want to calculate the moment of inertia. Similarly, we can calculate for Iyy. Iyy, it will be an area into x. Polar moment of inertia, AR square. So we can do here I product moment of inertia I by x plus A into x. So these are the formulae which we may be using in the future. Now let us understand what is unsymmetrical bending. So first of all, you understand what is a symmetrical section. So suppose this is a rectangle. So the centroid is here. So this is the y by and this is the centroid is G. So here this section is symmetrical both about x-axis and about y-axis. Similarly, suppose if you take a box section, and if you locate the G, so this also is symmetrical about x-axis and about y. Okay. If you take a H beam also, so again, but if you take a T beam, it is symmetrical about one axis. Okay. So our neutral axis is somewhere here, and this is a vertical axis. So it is symmetrical about y. So some sections are symmetrical about both axes. Some sections are symmetrical about one axis, and some sections are not at all symmetrical. So, like a rod or a circular section, it is also a symmetrical section. So, for understanding this, let us take this as a arbitrary section, and torque is acting and a actual force is acting. These are expressions. So here, if you see, the plane section of the beam remains plane after bending. The material of the beam is homogeneous, linearly elastic, and there is no internal axial force. The sign convention, so P is axial torque. So this is nothing but only a convention. So now you see the unsymmetrical bending we can define. Unsymmetrical bending is defined as a bending which is caused by the load that are inclined to the principal plane of bending. So it is not in the plane of bending. Okay. So here if you see, so the section is symmetrical about x-axis and y-axis, but the loading plane is not in one of the planes. So it will create the unsymmetrical bending. So example, the roof purlin. You must have seen the roofs like this. There are truss-like structure. Like, so these are there. The loading pattern is not along the plane of the one of the plane of. So here, what we can do, we can resolve this P force into the two components. One is P cos theta another is P sin theta. Okay, and this is the alpha is the inclination, and this neutral axis is inclined from one of the axes at another. So if we take a point in this quadrant, this coordinate will be minus x and this will be plus y. So we take according to the convention. So we consider here it is a symmetrical section. It is subjected to a load P and inclined to an angle theta to the axis of symmetry. Now resolve this, so you get P cos theta and P sin theta. Okay, horizontal component and vertical component. As you can see here, so this is the vertical component, horizontal component. So if we find the resultant stress, so it will be mx upon ix to y and my upon iy into x. Okay. So the resultant stress, we can put the value of this m cos theta and sin theta. So we can use this formula for the unsymmetrical bending of the symmetrical section. Now, how to locate the neutral axis? The neutral axis, if we define that it is an axis passing through the centroid of the plane of the cross section, along which the bending stress and the strains are zero. This we have seen. Sigma b is zero, and the strain is also. So let alpha be the inclination of the neutral axis with x-axis. As I told, this point xa coordinate is negative and y is positive. So we can put this because the stress is zero. So in the above formula we can put. So it will be ya upon xa. It will be ix upon iy. So this is nothing but tangent alpha. So this is ya upon xa is tangent alpha. So tangent alpha is ix upon iy. So from this we see unless ix is equal to iy or tan theta is zero or infinity. Okay, the neutral axis is not perpendicular to the. So what are the importance of the unsymmetrical bending? If the plane of the bending or the plane of the loading does not lie or parallel to the plane which contains the principal centroidal axis of the cross section, the bending is called unsymmetrical bending. This is what we are talking. So remember that are not symmetrical about the vertical axis, which are typically composed of the thin unsymmetrical section. So it is this point is important. These sections are thin, so that means along with the bending there will be twisting also. As example, the thin channel section, they undergo the phenomena of twisting under the transverse load. So the we'll see in the coming portion of the lecture. Let me draw a figure. I can draw. Say this is a channel section. So it is a channel. The channel section is there. So these are the one of the principal plane and another. So if the loading is through this, then there will be bending like this. But if the loading is at an inclination or offshoot, then along with the bending, there will be twisting. So this section along with bending, it will twist. Okay. So it will be twisting. So there will be twisting. So a channel section carrying a transfer load would twist because of the line of action of the load does not pass through the shear center of the member. So this shear center also we will discuss in the coming lecture. So whereas the rectangular beam would not twist because the loading would pass through the center of gravity. As I told, the rectangular section is a symmetrical section. So there the load is passing through. Uh, so if one is desired to use the unsymmetrical section to carry the transfer load without twisting, it is possible to do so if we pass this through the shear center. So this you will understand while we will discuss what is the shear center. So I conclude here. The axis of about which the product of inertia is zero is called the principal axis. So in the simple bending, the theory is applicable to bending about the principal axis only. And the moment of inertia of the section about its principal have maximum and minimum values respectively. So in order to overcome the effect of twisting when the beam is subjected to unsymmetrical loading, and the study of unsymmetrical bending is very useful. So thank you very much. I stop my lecture here. So thank you very much for a patient listening.